So, how would you like to have a job where in less than an hour and a half you could make $500 million? Now, I'm not talking about Powerball or Mega Millions or a trip to Vegas. I'm talking about the largest theft of personal property in recorded history. Yes, recorded history. And not only was it the biggest theft, they got away with it. At least we think they did. And this is how it happened. The world's biggest robbery happened in Boston, Massachusetts on March 18th, St. Patrick's Day, in 1990. As usual, 2 security guards were on duty at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Art Museum. Also as usual, one guard was patrolling the museum while the other was at the security door. At 1:24 a.m., 2 police officers showed up at the door and told the guard they were there because a disturbance in the courtyard had been reported. That wasn't too surprising to the guard. After all, it was St. Paddy's Day. The policeman asked to be let in. The guard pressed the buzzer and let the officers in the security door. He was startled when the policeman immediately put him in handcuffs. At first, the guard thought it was a case of mistaken identity. The police officers must have thought he was the one that caused the disturbance. But then he noticed that one of the policemen had a very obvious fake mustache. And then he realized what a huge mistake he had made. The guard realized too late that he had broken protocol by letting the police into the museum. When his partner returned several minutes later, the thieves also handcuffed him. The fake police officers escorted the 2 security guards to the basement of the museum, where their arms and legs were duct taped to water pipes that were down there. 81 minutes later, and 2 trips back to their vehicle, and it was all over. The thieves left the museum with 13 pieces of art valued at over $500 million. The security guards were found the next morning with no injuries, other than to their pride. The stolen pieces included works by Manet, Vermeer, Rembrandt, and Degas, as well as a Chinese vase and the eagle from the top of a pole support for a Napoleonic silk flag. None were ever recovered. The thieves also took the surveillance video, which completely covered their tracks. The stolen works had originally been purchased by art collector Isabella Stewart Gardner and were intended to be left on display at the museum after her death in 1924. Since the collection was permanent, there were still empty frames left hanging on the wall that today still remind visitors of the missing pieces. Art experts were puzzled at the items selected, since more valuable works were left in place. Among the stolen works was a painting called The Concert, which was one of only 34 known works by Vermeer and is thought to be the most valuable individual piece of art that was stolen. It is valued at more than $200 million. The museum still has a $5 million reward for information leading to the recovery of these works in good condition. Many people have tried to locate the artwork, but so far none of the pieces have been found. So you might be wondering, why was it so hard to find the stolen artwork? They would have to sell it somewhere. It shouldn't be that tough. Well, they didn't fail due to lack of effort. After the robbery, the FBI took control of the case because they believed that the artwork would have to be moved across state lines. They held hundreds of interviews with people across the globe and included other agencies such as Scotland Yard, the Japanese authorities, and the French police. Private investigators also interviewed many museum directors, art dealers, and a variety of shady characters known to be involved in art theft. But none of the leads panned out. The FBI came to believe that the thieves were members of a criminal organization based in the Mid-Atlantic and New England region of the U.S., and that the stolen art was moved through Connecticut and the Philly area in the years following the theft. That trail eventually turned cold. Back in 2010, the FBI announced it was sending some of the evidence from the crime scene into a Virginia lab for DNA retesting. But 7 years later, the Boston Globe reported that some of the evidence had gone missing, including handcuffs and duct tape that were used on the security guards. The museum first offered a reward of $1 million, but increased the reward to $5 million in 1997. That reward is still offered more than a quarter century later. But in May 2017, the reward was doubled to $10 million, but it had an expiration date set for the end of the year. It was extended into 2018 due to the very large number of tips that came in from the public. Of course, who doesn't want 10 million bucks? The authorities have said that they won't charge anyone who turns in the artwork voluntarily, but they will prosecute anyone caught in possession of any of the stolen work. Interestingly, the thieves can't face charges for the actual theft anymore since the 5-year statute of limitations has expired. So this robbery has become a major whodunit game. There are those that say it had to be an inside job. How could this happen without help from someone with access to the museum? In 2015, police released a video at what might have been a dry run of the robbery, where a guard from the museum let an unidentified man into the lobby, and then they left together and drove off in a car. However, the museum had previously interviewed the guard and cleared him. So, who are the suspects? First, Boston gangster Bobby Donati. A well-known art thief who was in prison at the time of the robbery stated that he and Donati had discussed robbing the Gardner in the 1980s. Shortly before the robbery, Donati was supposedly seen in a Boston nightclub with a bag full of police uniforms. Well, that sounds just a little bit suspicious. And Boston crime boss Vincent Ferrara said that Donati told him that he buried the stuff, referring to the artwork. And Donati was murdered in 1991 during a gang war, so whatever he knew died with him. Then there is gangster Robert Bobby the Cook Gentile, who has been said to know the location of the stolen art. In May 2012, the FBI searched his Connecticut home but didn't find any of the stolen contraband. But they did find a list of the art pieces along with the dollar amounts that they would be worth on the black market. And that sounds pretty incriminating to me. The feds also said that Gentile and his partner, Robert Guarente, tried to negotiate the return of 2 of the stolen pieces in return for a shorter prison sentence for one of their men. But they couldn't produce the art, although Guarente's wife said she was sure they did have the art at some point. Guarente died of cancer in 2004, and as of 2017, Gentile was still in prison on a weapons charge. Still, none of the stolen work has surfaced. So all of the leads have been dead ends. It is mind-boggling. How did $500 million of artwork simply disappear? Are they buried, like crime boss Ferrara said? Or, and this seems more likely to me, are they in the homes of fantastically wealthy private art collectors? We may never know, but I'm pretty sure the art will pop up eventually. What do you think? Or was this really the perfect crime?